So now you're down to potentially your fourth alternative at guard.
I think it has Super Bowl repeat impact. I really do. What's the best part of this Eagles football team?
Their offensive line.
It's been their identity for a long time. No Becton. Kelsey retires 2 years ago. So now we're talking about the internal part. 60% of your offensive line in 2 years could be different. So thoughts and prayers and hopes that Landon Dickerson's not going to get hurt. Remember back last year's playoffs, he was essentially playing on one leg. This is a massive, massive deal. And if the news comes out that, and players know, when you're reading reports on the internet of guys were down on knees and that gives you a lot of concern. I'm not going to overreact till officially gets out, but I know last year, that guy right there, Saquon Barkley, ran behind directly Landon Dickerson 97 times for like 700 yards. He is one of the best and most physical guards in football.
And look, they still have one of the best teams in the league. We're not going to overreact to one injury, but I'm also a big believer in vibes and mojo. And when you lose a player like Landon Dickerson, potentially for a while, that always is a cause for concern, and it's the concern that the Eagles now...
This is where NFL executives and I totally agree. In their tiers, 4 tiers, they have Jalen Hurts, 9th, 10th best quarterback. And fans view quarterbacks through the lens of, hey, they win. Well, Trent Dilfer and Nick Foles have Super Bowl rings, and Dan Marino doesn't. Matt Hasselbeck doesn't. Matt Hasselbeck is better than Nick Foles by a lot and Trent Dilfer. So GMs are asked to contextualize it. And if it was just about winning for a quarterback, then how did Patrick Mahomes get drafted in the first round, and how did Josh Allen? I watched Josh Allen play 2 good teams in college, Iowa and Oregon. He got crushed by both. Fans view quarterback, it's all about winning. You have, you're asked, a great stockbroker tells you to buy a stock before it's $140. He tells you to buy it when it's 13. Anybody can buy a stock. Anybody can buy NVIDIA now for the next 10 years or Amazon and say, hey, I know my stuff. Would you buy NVIDIA at 9, 26, 7 years ago? So Matt Stafford played in the NFL for 12 years and did not win a playoff game. He's a tier 1 quarterback, and he was Sean McVay's number 1 target. So this is not a knock on Jalen Hurts. He's not as tall as you'd like. He's about the same size or shorter than Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy last week went on a podcast and said, 40% of the time, I can't see who I'm throwing to. Tua has said publicly, yeah, a lot of times I let go of the ball. I can't see the receiver. So, and the other thing is, and this is just so obvious, the Eagles had a bye week. Remember when Tom Brady went to Bruce Arians? They were 7-5 and they had a bye week. You can break down your offense in that bye week and kind of make a major, it's hard to get off the treadmill week to week to week. But when you get that bye week and you get 3 or 4 extra practices, Tom Brady goes to Bruce Arians and says, we're going to change up the offense. Last year in the bye week, the people who know him best said, we'd be better off throwing less. That's a tell. So some quarterbacks in this league are Taylor Swift. They're leading the entire tour. Most quarterbacks in this league are the Spice Girls. They're part of an ensemble. Jalen is part of an ensemble. Of the 50 voters, 50 in the Mike Sando survey, of the 50, 3 had Jalen Hurts as a tier 1 quarterback. Okay, it'd be different if it was like 23, and then we could argue. But he was much closer to 7th rounder Brock Purdy than Mahomes, Burrow, and Josh Allen or Lamar. And that's exactly right.
Buckle up, Eagles fans, because the NFL just slapped Jalen Hurts in the face. ESPN's latest poll of 50 coaches, executives, and scouts ranks our Super Bowl MVP as the 9th best quarterback in the league, barely scraping into Tier 4, 9th or 10th, they say, behind names like Jared Goff and Justin Herbert. Are you kidding me? This is the guy who hoisted the Lombardi Trophy in 2024, outshining Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl licks. Only 3 voters dared to call Hurts a Tier 1 quarterback, 3 out of 50. This isn't just a ranking, it's a disgrace. A mockery of a man who's 46-20 as a starter and delivered Philly its 2nd championship in a decade. So why the hate Is it because Hurts is part of an ensemble, not a solo act like Taylor Swift strutting on stage? Or is it something deeper? Something the so-called experts refuse to admit. But hold on, before we torch these rankings, let's dive into what makes a quarterback great. Is it just rings? Because if so, the NFL's got some explaining to do. Let's unpack this in our next segment. If Super Bowl rings are the only measure of quarterback greatness, then why isn't Trent Dilfer hailed as a legend? Why isn't Nick Foles a Hall of Famer? They've got rings. But Dan Marino, arguably the greatest pure passer ever, doesn't. Matt Hasselbeck, a quarterback who dragged Seattle to a Super Bowl, never won one. Yet he's leagues above Dilfer or Foles. So why does Jalen Hurts get punished for his team's strength? Let's talk facts. Patrick Mahomes, drafted 10th overall in 2017, wasn't a proven winner in college. Josh Allen, crushed by Iowa and Oregon in big games at Wyoming. Yet both were first-round picks because GMs saw their potential, like a stockbroker spotting Nvidia at $9, 7 years ago, before it skyrocketed to $140. Hurts, with a 78.2% win rate over 3 seasons, is being judged not for his arm, but for his situation. It's absurd. The Eagles' elite roster A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon Barkley doesn't diminish Hurts, it amplifies him. But here's the kicker. Even Mahomes, the so-called GOAT, slipped to 5-inch some rankings. If he's not safe, who is? So, if rings and stats aren't the whole story, what about the intangibles? Let's talk about Hurts' size, his vision, and why some say he's more Spice Girls than Taylor Swift next up. Let's get real. Jalen Hurts isn't built like a prototypical quarterback. At 6'1" and 223 pounds, he's about the same size as Brock Purdy, who admitted he can't see his receivers 40% of the time he throws. Tua Tagovailoa said the same, sometimes he's just chucking it blind. Hurts isn't much taller, and that's a problem NFL execs whisper about behind closed doors. They say he's not a pure pocket passer, that he needs the Eagles' run-heavy scheme to shine. Remember the 2024 bye week? Insiders close to Hurts revealed a shocking truth. We'd be better off throwing less. Less. This is a quarterback who threw for 3,600 yards and 25 touchdowns as a rookie in 2024. Yet his own team questioned his passing game. It's a gut punch to fans who see him as elite. Compare that to Tom Brady, who used a bye week with Bruce Arians to overhaul Tampa's offense, going from 7-5 to a Super Bowl. Hurts' ensemble cast Saquon A.J. Brown. That O-line makes him a star. But is he the director or just a player in Philly's blockbuster? Hurts may not be the tallest, but he's got the heart of a champion. Yet, there's a storm brewing in Philly that could derail their repeat dreams. Let's talk about the offensive line crisis next. Eagles fans, brace yourselves. The heart of this team, its vaunted offensive line, is on the brink of collapse. Landon Dickerson, the 3-time Pro Bowl left guard, was carted off during Sunday's open practice at Lincoln Financial Field. He was down on all fours, gingerly walking off after his left foot got tangled with Jordan Mailata's. Today, he's getting an MRI on his knee. This isn't just any injury, this is a potential catastrophe. Dickerson, who ran through 2 AL tiers in college at Florida State and Alabama, is the soul of this O-line. Last year, Saquon Barkley ran behind him 97 times for 700 yards. That's 2 yards per carry. Without him, Philly's down to their 4th option at guard. Mekhi Becton's gone. Jason Kelce retired 3 years ago, and now 60% of the O-line could be new in just 2 years. The Eagles drafted Trevor Keegan in the 5th round and 3 others in the 6th, but are rookies ready to protect Hurts? Howie Roseman might need to call Brandon Scherf, a former top 5 pick, or make a trade. Jeff Stoutland's the best O-line coach in the game, but even he can't work miracles if Dickerson's out. This is a vibe killer, a mojo crusher, and a threat to Philly's Super Bowl. Repeat, the Eagles' O-line is teetering, but there's hope yet. Can Howie Roseman pull a rabbit out of his hat? Stay tuned for the latest updates. And what's next for Philly? Eagles Nation, don't lose faith just yet. Despite the Jalen Hurts snub and the Landon Dickerson scare, this team is still a juggernaut, with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Saquon Barkley. Philly's offense is a powder keg ready to explode. Howie Roseman, the mastermind GM, has options. Sign a veteran like Brandon Scherf or lean on Jeff Stoutland to mold rookies like Trevor Keegan and Drew Kendall into starters. Last year, when Dickerson slid to center in the NFC Championship, Tyler Steen stepped up at guard proof. This team adapts. But here's the hard truth. The vibes are shaky. A 14-3 record and a Super Bowl win in 2024 don't guarantee a repeat. Dickerson's MRI results, expected today, could shift everything. If it's a tear ACL, MCL, meniscus, this could spiral, but if it's just a sprain, Philly's back in business. Either way, the Eagles face the Cowboys in 3.5 weeks to open the season. Can Hurts silence the doubters? Can Stoutland rebuild the O-line? This is Philadelphia Eagles Now, and we're here for every twist and turn. Subscribe, hit that bell, and join us for the latest on Dickerson's injury and Philly's path to another ring. The Eagles' story is far from over, but the clock is ticking. Stay locked in for our next video, where we break down the latest Dickerson MRI news and Philly's preseason hype.